Hello and welcome back to Wrong Mar. In today's maths lesson, we're going to be taking a look at fraction walls. Our WALT for today's lesson is to find simple equivalent fractions by using a fraction wall. So we know by now that a fraction is a part of a whole number, shape or set. We also have a pretty good idea of how to find fractions of shapes and numbers from the work we did last week. Today, we're going to be taking a look at fraction walls. This is what they look like. What do you think the fraction wall is trying to show you? Pause the video and write down what you think a fraction wall might be used for. Well, a fraction wall helps us to see which fractions are equal to each other. These are called equivalent fractions. What do you notice about the fractions down below? Can you see any that are equal to each other? Pause the video and see if you can write down one thing that you can observe. Well, there are lots and lots of fraction facts hidden in this wall. For example, you might have noticed that 2 halves are the same as 1 whole unit. You also might have noticed that 8 eighths is equal to 1 whole unit. Or maybe you noticed that 4 quarters is equal to 1 whole unit. There are lots of other things you might have observed, like that 1 quarter is smaller than a half, or that 1/8 is smaller than a quarter. There's lots going on in this fraction wall. The most common use for a fraction wall, though, is to compare 2 fractions to each other, and to try and find which ones are equal to one another. For example, you might notice that 1 half is equivalent to 2 quarters. We can tell that by looking at the fraction wall, going to 1 half, and following the line down to the quarters to see how many it is equal to. See if you can find any other fractions that are equivalent to 1 half. Try go down to the eighths and see if you can figure out how many eighths are equivalent to 1 half. Pause the video and give it a try. Well, did you figure it out? 4 eighths are equivalent to 1 half. They're the same amount. Can you find a fraction that is equivalent to 1 quarter? Pause the video and see if you can find the fraction that's equal to a quarter. Well, did you find it? The fraction you're looking for is 2 eighths. If we find 1 quarter on the fraction wall and have a look around to see what's the same size as it, you'll see 2 eighths are exactly the same amount. How many quarters would have the same value as 4 eighths? Pause the video and see if you can figure out how many quarters that would be. Well, did you get it? The answer, of course, is 2 quarters. If we count up 1, 2, 3, 4 eighths, and we follow the line up to the quarters, we can see it's the same value as 2 quarters. How about 3 quarters? What fraction has the same value as 3 quarters? Well, the answer is 6 eighths. If we count up 1, 2, 3 quarters, and we move down to the eighths, we'll see that is equal in value to 6 eighths. Take a bit of time now to study the fraction wall down below and see if you can find the equivalent fractions for all of these ones I've given you. 1 half is equivalent to what? 1 quarter is equivalent to what? 2 quarters is equivalent to what? And 3/4 is equivalent to what? Pause the video and give it a try. Let's start off with 1/2. There's actually 2 equivalent fractions on the fraction wall to 1/2. If we look at the quarters, we can see that 2/4 is equivalent to 1/2. So that's one of them. The other answer, if we look down at the eighths, we can see that 1/2 is the same value as 4/8. So the other answer is 4/8. Either of those ones is absolutely correct. Let's check the next fraction, 1/4. What is that equal to? Well, if we look at the quarter on the fraction wall and we look up and down, we'll see that it's only equal to 2/8. So that's our answer. 1/4 is equal in value to 2/8. Next question, 2/4. What is 2/4 equivalent to? Well, again, there's 2 correct answers for this. The first one, if we look down to the eighths, we'll see that 2/4 is the same value as 4/8. The other answer, if we look all the way up to the halves, we'll see that 2/4 is also equivalent to 1/2. So there's 2 answers. And the final question, 3/4. What is that equal to? Well, if we count up 1, 2, 3/4 and we look down to the eighths, we'll see that it is equal in value to 6/8. So 3/4 is equal to 6/8. So there's our answers for all of them. How did you get on? Are you getting the hang of using these fraction walls? I hope so, because we're going to move on to a different fraction wall. Not every fraction wall shows exactly the same fractions on it. Take a look at this one down here. We've got units, halves, fifths, and tenths this time. We use this fraction wall exactly the same way as we used the last one. So what fraction on this wall is equivalent to 1/2? Can you pause the video and see if you can figure out the answer? Well, exactly the same as the last time. We go into 1/2, we colour it in if we want to like this, and we follow the line all the way down until we get an equivalent fraction. And here we go, we've got tenths. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths is equal to 1/2. Try this next one on your own. What about 1/5? What is 1/5 equal to on this fraction wall? Pause the video and give it a try. Well, 1/5 is equal to 2 tenths. When we look at the fifths and we look up and down, we can see that only the 2 tenths are equal in value. Try another one. How about 2/5? What is 2/5 equal to on this fraction wall? Pause the video and give it a try. Well, again, there's only one answer to this. If we look at 2/5 and colour them in, and then look up or look down, only the 4 tenths are equal in value. So the answer is 2/5 is equal to 4 tenths. And one final question. What equivalent fractions are there to 4/5 on this fraction wall? Pause the video and give it a try. Well, the answer that we should have is 8 tenths. When we count up 1, 2, 3, 4 fifths and we look up and down, we can see that only the 8 tenths are equal in value. So our answer is 4/5 is equal to 8 tenths. So that's how we use fraction walls to find equivalent fractions. It's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it. Before you go, unfortunately, my very irritating sister is back once again, and this time she's complaining about equivalent fractions. She thinks that I have more pizza than she does. She says it's not fair because I have 8 slices of pizza and she only has 4 slices of pizza. What do you think? Do you agree with her? Or do you disagree with her? Pause the video and write down your answer. So our walt for today was to find simple equivalent fractions using a fraction wall. If you're ready to practice this, you can try the activities down below. That's all we have time for today. Until next time, take care.